The first Christmas twilight descended upon the ancient city, nestled between mirror-like canals and the sharp spires of cathedrals. The air grew still, crystallizing into a dense, translucent haze as lazy snowflakes began their slow dance, draping the cobblestones in a shroud of fluffy white velvet. In the windows of grand estates, amber lights flickered to life one by one, reflecting in the dark, ice-kissed waters like the scattered coins of a long-forgotten treasure. The city breathed with the anticipation of a secret. The silence was broken only by the distant tolling of bells and the muffled creak of runners from a passing carriage. On this night, the veil between reality and fairy tale grew thin. Every breath stung the lungs with cold and the scent of burnt caramel wafting from the shops. It was a time when shadows stretched longer and chance encounters felt predestined by the stars themselves. In the doorway of the majestic Palazzo, a figure appeared, causing time to stand still for a heartbeat. Her gown, the color of a ripe pomegranate, stood out against the gray stone like a drop of blood upon the snow. Fine silk flowed down the steps, while her shoulders were draped in a fur stole, white as the blizzard itself. Her face was hidden by an exquisite mask, embroidered with gold threads and tiny sapphires, leaving visible only her lips, graced by a faint smile, and the shimmer of her eyes, which mirrored the light of the candelabras. She stepped into the ballroom, where the air was thick with the scent of fine perfumes and beeswax. Hundreds of candles flickered beneath the soaring vaults, painting the walls with whimsical patterns. A throng of masked figures swirled in a silent rhythm, the rustle of fabrics echoing the sound of the tide. Yet she felt utterly alone in this glittering ocean. She sought not amusement, but that singular feeling capable of providing warmth in the harshest of winters. He stood by a towering column, concealed within the shadows of heavy velvet drapes. A black doublet with silver embroidery accentuated his stately frame, while a simple raven mask made his presence hauntingly alluring. In his hand, he held a glass of dark wine, though he did not drink. His gaze, cold and piercing, drifted across the guests until it collided with hers. In that instant, the roar of the ball fell silent in their ears, leaving nothing but the frantic thrumming of two hearts. Without a word, he stepped forward. His movements were graceful and assured, like those of a predator who has found its mark. He extended a hand encased in fine leather, and without hesitation, she placed her palm within his. An electric spark jolted between them, instantly melting the ice of social decorum. This was no mere dance. It was a dialogue of two souls who had found each other within a labyrinth of masks. The orchestra began to play a slow, languid melody. They whirled across the hall, their eyes locked in an unwavering gaze. Every movement was infused with unspoken passion. The accidental brush of a shoulder, the closeness of a breath, the scent of her hair reminiscent of a winter garden. The world around them ceased to exist. The people vanished. The walls dissolved, leaving only the two of them in a whirlwind of crimson and black. Within this dance lay the drama of their lives. He guided her with such tenderness, as if she were crafted from the finest glass, yet held her with such resolve, as if fearing she might dissolve with the first ray of moonlight. The intrigue deepened with every beat. Who was hidden behind these masks? Why did this attraction feel so familiar, as if they had known one another hundreds of years ago, in another forgotten life? The tower clock began to chime midnight, 12 heavy strokes heralding the arrival of Christmas. With the final toll, he leaned toward her ear and whispered something that made her tremble. Without waiting for the music to fade, he drew her away through a side door onto the balcony, and from there into the sleeping garden, where the snow remained untouched by any footstep. The biting air struck their faces, yet they felt no cold. Amidst the frost-covered statues and dormant fountains, their passion flared with renewed intensity. He pressed her against a cold stone wall, and in that contrast between the icy stone and the heat of their bodies lay the very essence of this night. The masks still clung to their faces, yet their hearts stood naked before one another. Suddenly, he pulled away. From deep within the garden, The voices and laughter of returning guests drifted toward them. He looked at her one last time, a gaze filled with promise and a quiet, lingering sadness. Before she could utter a single word, he vanished into the mist that shrouded the canal's edge, leaving nothing in her hand but a small golden star, a fragment of his mask. She remained alone beneath the falling snow. Her crimson gown glowed vibrantly against the white carpet, while the metal of the tiny star grew cold in her palm. This was not the end. It was merely the prologue to a grander story. The city continued to guard its secret, but from now on, beneath every mask on the street, she would search for that same gaze, knowing that a Christmas miracle had already touched her heart.